Hey, Matt Collum here. I appreciate you guys taking a minute to take a look at my video. I just wanted to kind of go over what preparations should be made, in the event of some sort of, maybe not even disaster, but just any event that might cause a disruption to your normal everyday activities like grocery store shopping, going to work, things like that. So when people think preparation, they hear prep, it immediately goes to something negative. Oh, it's a prepper. He's got a bunker. He's got, stores of food. He's a hoarder. I'm not talking about that. There's definitely a percentage of people out there that go to those extremes. But I'm just talking about everyday people. What maybe 4 or 5 things you could do to kind of be prepared a little further than what you are now. So, there's definitely things you can do. I would say, number one thing you want to think about is protection. We see a lot of just negativity in the press on both sides, a lot of things happening out there. It makes people uneasy. There's a lot of unknowns, what the future of the country is going to. So, I think protection is an important part of that, whether that be, a firearm. A lot of people are not comfortable around guns, or just don't want to own a firearm or don't feel safe around them. So, maybe even as something as simple as a baseball bat, maybe a pocket knife, mace, a taser, something that at least gives you an advantage in case, your life or your safety is put at risk for you and your family. So I think, protection should be your number one priority. I definitely recommend a firearm, but if it's something that you don't feel comfortable with, at least think about some other alternative to protection. Second thing, we've seen it with the pandemic. Food supplies become scarce. Grocery store shelves empty out pretty quickly, and if truck drivers aren't flowing and freight isn't flowing, it's about a week to 2 weeks worth of food out there that'll disappear rather quickly. So, one thing you could do in preparation for any upcoming possible event like the inauguration, election days, a hurricane, anything like that, maybe think about buying double what you would normally in groceries. That way, if you don't use it, it'll be something you would normally eat, so you have it on hand. There are things out there, like Mountain House food, things like this that has like a 25-year shelf life. These things can be put up, maybe buying one a week or one a month over time. You build up a little bit of stores that you could put in a closet or, store it away. Even dry foods like beans, rice. These are things that you can store for years without any problem. And those can be used anytime, basically with just boiling water. So just think about having a backup food supply in case things were to get bad and you had to have, something there. And like I said, not talking about long-term prepping. I'm just talking about being prepared in the event that something happens so that you can be at your home safe and not have to go out. So that's what this is about. It's not turning you into a prepper and have you in a bunker somewhere hiding. It's more just think about things you can do with small investments or even no investments, and just think about planning ahead. And that brings me to my next one, which would be plan. Think about what you would do in the event of something happening. What is your contingency plan? First, I would always recommend your first plan be at your home. Try to be inside and not have to flee or go anywhere, not have to bug out, as they say. Maybe make sure you've got food and protection and things like that at your home so that can be your primary place to go. But always have a backup. Where would you meet in the event of a natural disaster or some sort of attack or civil unrest. Think about that and talk about it with your family so that they're aware of it. For God forbid something were to happen, at least you have an idea of where you're going to be and what's the end plan of where you're going to go. So think about that. Have a plan of some sort. Next thing would be communication. If you lose power, of course your internet's going to go down. Information grids can go down, so your cell phone could almost be useless within a day or two. So think about backup communication, maybe even just a weather radio or a ham radio, a handheld CB radio. these are all things that are relatively inexpensive to get. You know, you can get just about any of those things for $50 or less, maybe even less than that if you can find a used one. But having something like that so that you can communicate with people in the event of you know, a grid going down or communications being lost, it would at least let you know what's going on the outside. At the very least, have a battery operated AM FM radio so that you could hear, you know, news broadcasts and, you know, local information in case something out there, you know, that you need to know. But I would say at a minimum have a battery operated AM FM radio around, and maybe even a weather radio, and with extra batteries and things so that you know you can power it. Maybe a power inverter that you can plug up to your car so that you have power in the event that you lose power. Or a generator. If you have a generator, that would be even great. You can power your house, or maybe even just a refrigerator to keep your perishables good for a few days. So those are things to think about. And then last thing would be just backups for things that you have to have. So if you have a medical condition where you've got to have medicines, or, you know, something that's very important to your life, you know, you might want to have backups for that, whether that be heart pills or diabetes medicines, or, you know, something along that nature. If you have allergies, you know, EpiPens or Benadryl, you know, anything that might be a backup to something that could definitely endanger your life in the event that you can't get medical attention or first responders are not able to respond to you. So think about backups to your things like that, you know. Having a kit, you know, like I have a video with my kit that I have, my everyday carry kit, you know, having some things like first aid, things like that readily available. You know, I even have what they call life straw, you know, filter water in the event that you have to, you know, reuse some water. But just things like that, you know. Definitely, like I said, I'm not trying to turn you into a prepper, but just as things, civil unrest becomes part of the norm, it seems like, you know, you might want to think about, you know, those 5 things. Just protection of some sort for you and your family. You know, backup food and water, storage places for that. Maybe even having a cooler on hand in case you have to, you know, leave your home. You'll be able to carry some food with you. And then, like I said, the backup communication and a plan about what you're going to do, and discuss that with your family. And then backups to your meds and your, maybe even your heat if you live in a winter. Up north where it's winter a lot longer than down here, and maybe even entertainment. You know, think about having some cars or games or things tucked away behind a seat so that, you know, if you have smaller kids, that's something that keeps their mind off of things. If you were to have to travel, or even at home, you know, having some board games and things really available that you can pull out in the event of any kind of a power outage and stuff. You know, that could be even as small as like tornadoes, hurricanes, you know, flooding, things that are going to cause power outages for days and weeks at a time. Just think about preparation for things like that. So appreciate you guys taking a listen. Like I said, hopefully that'll give you some information and give you something to think about, and maybe even help you down the road. If you like what you hear, if you would please like and subscribe, and thank you. Have a good one.